large anxiety that comes into your mind. Fear arises. Frustration arises. Where do they come from, those mental experiences? What's their essence, those types of thoughts? Are they any more important than other thoughts we have? Where does the thought come from? So just returning your awareness, looking out across that expanse, again, of the clear mountain lake. This is more of a mirror of the real nature of your mind. One of the aspects, the clarity of your mind. So when you're toppled by a large imbalance in your mind, like fear, anxiety, depression, anger, one major antidote is to remind yourself of the nature of your mind. It's clear and aware. That's its real nature, clear and aware. So please relax and return yourself to your space right now where you are. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. So I wanted to mention, if you notice, when anxiety comes in, and what's helpful is, let's analyze some of the negative thoughts that appear in your mind. Let's analyze. That's an antidote, a very helpful antidote. For instance, people will say to me, I'm really stressed. I'm really stressed. Let's look at stress. Stress is a response to adverse or very demanding circumstances. Please think about it. Again, stress is a response to adverse or very demanding circumstances. So if you say you're stressed, and here's a way of detaching. I'm not a really stressed out person, but I have a lot of stress in my mind right now. Okay, so you're separating a little bit. The stress isn't taking you over. You're, in a sense, getting perspective on it. We talked in another class, perspective is the first pillar of joy. From the Book of Joy, about His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, and how they deal with the suffering in their lives. And they've both experienced tremendous suffering in their lives. So instead of having the stress take you over, can I take a couple steps back, get some perspective? Okay, so are there very demanding circumstances in my life? Adverse, demanding circumstances in my life? And you might say, well, actually, that's not what's going on. So I'm mislabeling, number one. So there goes the stress dissolving. I'm not really under a lot of demands right now. Just for instance, you might say, okay? So then you go, well, I think I'm suffering from anxiety. I think I feel really anxious. Okay, let's look at anxiety. Anxiety is worry about future uncertainty. and the inability to control what will happen to you. Again, anxiety is worry about future uncertainty and the inability to control what will happen to you. Okay, so you look at this and you say, well, now people do have a lot of uncertainty around their future. So that may be clear of what's going on for you, why you're feeling anxious, okay? And then here's the second part, the inability to control what will happen to you. So again, we've talked about this before. In your lives, what can you control? What can you control? Your mind, your attitude. That's it. I can't control when I'll be able to freely go to the supermarket. Okay, but if I have to go, I can control my attitude when I go. I had to go the other day. I could control that I take the precautions that is recommended by my state or my area, or what I think is recommended by all the medical forces, the CDC and things like that. And being very careful when I come home with different materials and different foods and what I choose to do when I bring them into my clean space. Do I want to wipe them down first in another room? That, there's different things like that I can control. My attitude when I go out. Instead of going out with fear and constriction, and when I went out the last time, there's people in those stores stocking the shelves and helping us check out. And we can't really be in that store without them. So all of these service workers, and now they call them essential workers, they're always essential. We don't get our food. We don't ride public buses without these people. We can't be in certain spaces without people cleaning up the spaces, and on and on. They're always essential, these people. So do we ever, even behind your mask, if you go out, do you ever thank them? I was out the other day in one of these stores, and every employee I saw, I just thanked them for being there for us. Thank you for doing your job and being here and showing up. Because they are putting themselves at risk like that. And they're doing the best they can. So that's something I can control. But I can't really control, when the virus will die down and when people will be able to move around and interact. But I can control my attitude about that. And if I want to be consumed with the anxiety, I'm less able to function in that space. So we want to analyze that. If I'm feeling anxious, go back to your breath again, a deep breath. Go back and visualize you're seated beside a clear mountain lake. Like that. Use these techniques rather than letting the mind, when I said, if you notice a thought of fear coming into the mind, notice the agitation to your mind. Where's the clear, calm surface? Okay. So if I just return myself to that briefly, reminding myself of the nature of my mind, the true nature of my mind, it's not anxiety. It's not fear. Why do I have that in my mind? Because there's a habit of that in my mind. Some people have more of a habit of it. Some people have more of a habit of anger. Some people have more of a habit of pride and arrogance, or jealousy, or depression. That's all. It's just what you're used to bringing up, playing over and over again in your mind and ruminating through. So let's analyze a little bit more with stress and anxiety. Here's another word we use: pressure. I'm under a lot of pressure. I'm under too much pressure right now. I feel too much pressure. Okay? Pressure is when you perceive that something at stake is dependent on your performance. Dependent on your performance. Some people are working at home. Right now, I think a lot of ideas about performance, a lot of people are relaxing, a lot of employers are relaxing that whole trip, but it's still there for people. So again, in the future, you can analyze, is that really what's going on for you? And you might say, oh no, it's not really about my performance. It's about my inability to control things. So again, you want to specifically identify get to know your mind. That this is a passage, Tibetan Buddhism, of getting to know your mind. Because if you identify the underlying feeling for something, then you can respond in a more helpful way. Then you can respond in a more helpful way. So please do consider, I think it's really helpful to be clear about you getting to know your mind and knowing the patterns that we're creating. They're just habits. No need to lay any negative trip on yourself about it. Again, we're simply observing. And if you're really observing your mind, some people have called me and talked to me and said they're bored right now during this period. They're bored. I'm waiting to get to boredom right now. I've got so many projects and things piled up I can't wait to get to that I don't have the boredom. But here's another thing that I find counteracts boredom for me is watching my mind and just watching how my mind reacts to something. You may look at something on your phone or computer or television about the news, okay? Please observe how your mind responds to that information that you're taking in, okay? And then use that time period wisely. I'll give you an example. Yesterday I spoke with a friend who lives in the Washington, D.C. area. She and her partner, she and her husband are, there. A lot of the people in the DC area I know, and I used to live there for many years, because the government's there, they're more tuned into politics, but a lot of them are news junkies. Like they're super tuned in, and so she and her husband were on every week these news programs that they needed to watch. The programs are repeating the same thing over and over. So how much of that do you need? So she actually is a practitioner. She's a meditator in a different tradition. And she said it wasn't really helping her. She was feeling very anxious. And I said, did you ever notice, watch the news, if you like, watch the news, read your news story on your phone or your computer, however you take it in, then stop it, turn it off. And then can you have a couple minute check-in? How do you feel? Body and mind, how do you feel? So if you're noticing that you're not feeling well, why would you continue that? Why are you continuing that practice? And then again, do you find there's some other things in your life that when you finish, watch your mind a little bit. How did that feel? How did that feel? If it's something positive, why don't you want to do more of those things? And even an example I'll give in daily life, when I went to the store, and I went to the store in the right way. I had my mask, I had hand sanitizer, and then how did I wait in line to get in the store? Impatiently, where by the time I got in, I was all agitated? Or did I, make sure there was enough spacing? And when the woman in front of me turned around and looked at me, did we make eye contact and smile at each other? Or was I lost in, like somebody behind me was just lost in their phone and they weren't moving up properly, so the people behind them got agitated? Am I present in the space? And then going in the store and feeling thankful to everybody there, to all the people supplying the store and helping us check out and being there and being really helpful. It was a much more positive experience than me just going in about me, myself, and I, what I need. Not paying attention to who else was in my aisle so I could give them enough space. So I came out of the store feeling really positive. Like that was a positive experience. So every little activity that you do, can you check in? We have some space right now, some of us have, to check in a little bit more. How's my mind right now? I just watched this program on TV, you might say. I just streamed this. I just looked at this on my phone. I just played this game on my phone. I just did this Buddhist course for an hour. I just did some meditation. Check in. 30 seconds, 1 minute, check in. Body and mind feels pretty good and balanced. Let's do more of that. Body and mind not feeling really good and balanced. maybe I need to not do so much of that. And so my friend, it was interesting talking with her where we had a little discussion about the news, the television news that comes on for the nightly news, that half an hour you're supposed to get of international news every evening, and she watches that. And then I pointed some things out to her about the three main anchor people that I've watched over the years, because they report news differently. And I had to do this course when I was at university in a political science course. So I'm very conscious, and then I worked for this political magazine for a couple of years. So I'm very conscious of, here's the thing, where do you get your information from? So since then, I've always been quite aware, where do you get the information from? And what I noticed, and I was pointing out to her, I don't know how many of you watch those kind of news programs, but David Muir, for instance, Channel 6, ABC it is, I don't even know what channel it is in Europe, but it's ABC News. And that used to be a really good news station I would watch when I would visit my parents. They would like to watch that for half an hour. And what I notice now is he's the most sensational of the three anchors. It's always mass hysteria when he's on. It just feels like, and the other thing is he's overly focused on the weather. So she noticed this. She said, oh, you're right. That's not international news, the weather. I don't know why. So I'm not really getting accurate stuff from that station. So I stopped. I don't watch that if I choose to watch something like that. You know, so there's one woman that's on, one anchor, and two men. The other man is more reserved, right? Lester Holt, more reserved. I think it's NBC or something like that. And then the woman I find has the most compassionate responses of all. Just my interpretation. She has these really moving things of gratitude, experiences of gratitude right now, how people are helping each other, personal faces a lot of different people, which is really interesting. And that's the news station, apparently, it might be changing, that apparently has the lowest ratings for that news program. So it's just an interesting observation of our time of, you know, what are we contributing to in our own personal space? But think about your mind. What are you contributing to, please, with your mind, so that you can create healthier feelings, healthier situations for your mind, and that you're building on that and not getting caught up in everybody's negative ruminating, if there are people around you doing that, like that, or that we can best support people around us that are more fearful and maybe don't have these kind of coping mechanisms. So it's just a suggestion like that to observe. Let's be observant. I find how can you be bored when you can always observe your mind? You can always watch your mind like that. Okay, so we're going to turn to, and I just want to ask right now, and anybody who wants to unmute, just any one or two questions? Any comments like that from anything I've been saying? Now there's a John G on. Is that the John G that I know? I can't see you, but welcome to all these people that are from, well, many different places. Wonderful. Great to see you. I'd also like to have a little shout out right now. I'm sure there's more of you. Gina Canisi is on. I want to really thank Gina because she is a nurse. She's going in on her shifts, and she is, oh, hi, John, great. She's serving a lot of really ill people right now. So any healthcare workers out there, I really thank you and commend you. So thank you for doing that, Gina. It's really, really been hard work for her. And she's really out there on the front lines right now. Okay, so we're going to turn to our Chenrezig practice. And this is a more traditional way. And this is the practice, has a beautiful 1,000-arm Chenrezig color picture on the front. And this is an image of the Buddha of infinite compassion that His Holiness the Dalai Lama is said to embody. Chenrezig in Tibetan, or Avalokiteshvara in Sanskrit. And this happens to be the 1,000-armed version of this Buddha, but there are simpler versions of this Buddha, like a 4-arm version. The reason I like the 1,000-arm version, it's 1,000 arms right now. Each hand has an eye in the center of the hand. So he sees all the different realms and all the different beings that need help. And his whole purpose for being is to reach out and try to relieve their suffering. That's what compassion is all about. Relieving suffering, wishing others to be free of suffering. So if you can bring that up, it might have been emailed to you, but I'm going to read right now and you can just relax, close your eyes, and I'm going to describe this Buddha right now. We're going to do this practice with. Thank you, Rebecca or Nicole has shared it on our screen. Thank you so much. So we're all there together. So please relax if you'd like to close your eyes. Now, how do you move through the pages? Oh, there we go. Wonderful. Okay. I'm going to go back to my copy. Great. So just relax. I'm going to read the visualization and just visualize as best as you can.
Venerable Amy, I'm sorry. Just let me know when you want me to turn the page.
Absolutely. Okay. In the space in front of you, visualize as best as you can a few feet in front of you, slightly higher than your forehead, is the divine form of this beautiful Buddha you're looking at, this color picture of the 1,000-armed Chenrezig. And he's the embodiment of all the infinite Buddha's compassionate wisdom. Infinite compassion. Imagine him standing on a lotus and moon seat. His body is in the nature of white light. Youthful, decorated with beautiful jewel ornaments, draped in beautiful silks, and a radiant smile on that first white face, but all of his faces, until you get to the upper faces where there's some wrathful ones to dispel spirits and harm and things like that. He has 11 faces. And this is the image of the Buddha that we work with during the Nungne practices. The first center face is white, the right is green, the left is red. And again, this is elaborate. You just imagine that he's there, visualize as best as you can. You don't have to worry about all the details right now. Above those, his center face is green, the right is red, the left is white. Above those, his center face is red, the right is white, and the left is green. Above those is a wrathful dark blue face with yellow hair standing erect. And on top of that is the red head of Amitabha Buddha, peaceful and smiling. That's the Buddha family that Chenrezig is part of. His first two hands are joined at his heart. The palms are together and he's holding a wish-fulfilling gem. On his right, the second hand holds a crystal rosary, reminding you to recite mantra that protects your mind. The third hand is in the gesture of giving realizations, and from it a rain of nectar falls, curing the hunger and thirst of hungry ghosts, a lower realm. The fourth hand holds a wheel, representing turning the wheel of Dharma or teaching. On his left, the second hand holds a white lotus, the purest of flowers, although it's born from the mud of a swamp. The third hand holds a vase containing the nectar of his compassionate wisdom. The fourth holds a bow and arrow, symbolizing defeat of the 4 negative forces. And the other 992 hands are in the gesture of giving the highest realizations. An antelope skin is draped over his left shoulder, symbolizing that hatred is overcome completely by peaceful, compassionate wisdom. Just as best as you can, imagine he's there in the space in front. We're going to turn to the next page. Great. And if you look on the middle, taking refuge and generating the altruistic intention, if you'd like, we can read together. And this is, in a sense, feel a connection to infinite compassion that's in the space in front. If it's more helpful to you to visualize a radiant white light, that's fine. And just feel this is a source. Chen Reisig is a source of more protection for us from suffering. So if you feel to get in touch with that, we're going to recite this refuge and bodhicitta prayer 3 times. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing generosity and the other far-reaching attitudes, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. And let's send these 4 immeasurable prayers out to the universe. And they're immeasurable because we don't want to limit the amount of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. And we also don't want to limit because it's countless beings that we're sending these prayers out to. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May they abide in this way. I shall cause them to abide in this way. Guru Deity, please inspire me to be able to do so. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness in its causes. May they have these. I shall cause them to have these. Guru Deity, please inspire me to be able to do so. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were free from suffering and its causes. May they be free. I shall cause them to be free. Guru Deity, please inspire me to be able to do so. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were never parted from upper rebirth and liberation's excellent bliss. May they never be parted. I shall cause them never to be parted. Guru Deity, please inspire me to be able to do so. Again, when it says Guru Deity, we're imagining that Chen Reisig in the space in front could be inseparable from any particular guru that you have, a highly realized teacher, let's say, or His Holiness the Dalai Lama, if you feel connected to him. And that's also inseparable from the Buddha. So they're all one in one sense. That's in the space in front. Think of what a tremendous help these beings are around us, and we don't really have pure karma to be able to see them. So we visualize like this to make that an imprint in our minds, as opposed to fear, anxiety, depression, things like that. Special altruistic intention. Especially for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I must quickly and more quickly in this very life attain the precious state of complete and perfect Buddhahood. Therefore, I shall practice the gradual path of Guru Chen Reisig Yoga. So once again, we're reminded about our motivation and the 7-limb prayer. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all my negative actions accumulated since beginning this time, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. So we can offer a beautiful, precious universe, a mandala, in order so that we can ask Chenrezig to be here with us, and that we can do this practice in a more, in a better way, with less distraction, less obstacles. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn, Mount Meru, 4 lands and the moon, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you, may all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance, friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these without any sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be free from the 3 poisonous attitudes. Imagine the most incredible universe of the most precious things, your precious life. And we offer and ask the Guru to accept this. Idam Guru Radna Mandalakam Niratayami. So this requesting prayer, feeling that that Buddha of infinite compassion is in front of you, like it is your most precious friend. I really want to call on their energy to please help me right now. O Arya, compassionate-eyed one, who is the treasure of compassion, I request you, please listen to me. Please guide myself, mothers and fathers, in all the 6 realms to be freed quickly from the great ocean of samsara. I request that the vast and profound, peerless awakening mind may grow. With the tear of your great compassion, please cleanse all karmas and delusion. Please lead with your hand of compassion. Next page. Me and migrators to fields of bliss. Please Amitabha and Chenrezig, in all my lives be virtuous friends. Show well the undeceptive pure path and quickly place us in Buddha's state. So this is also recited during the Nongne. There's actually a chant, and I'll try to find my text next time, maybe to do the chant. And there's, I might be able to find it if we have it in the English like that. It's really pretty chant. Let's just read through here. These are the 8 verses of thought transformation, Lojong teachings, mind training teachings. This is the updated version that Lama Zopa Rinpoche likes. And it's really helpful to kind of consider these, especially during this challenging time right now. I find it does help us transform adversity into the path. There's lots of adversity right now, whether you're afraid you're going to become ill, whether there's people around you who are ill, whether there's, for in Gina's condition, there's sometimes a lack of protective equipment to use to help people. There's, we're all challenged with getting out and doing our normal activities and moving around, and all these other kinds of things, supporting our children, supporting elderly parents. It goes on and on. So if I can occasionally roll one of these verses through, it may help better support my mind to do this rather than just focusing on, oh, woe is me, like that. So let's read these together. Determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I hold them most dear at all times. So you go into your market to get some food. How about some appreciation toward these people? I hold them most dear at all times. And can I carry it on after this situation is finished? Can I look at these essential workers with that appreciation constantly, because I can't really function in my life without them? Next verse. When in the company of others, I shall always consider myself the lowest of all, and from the depths of my heart hold others dear and supreme. This is not that you are less than others. This is not being a masochist. This is understanding humbling and humility. We are all the same here right now. This is a global experience we're having. We're not different than other people, having concern about being ill, trying to protect yourself, trying to carry on business, trying to feed yourself, all those things. We're really all in this together right now. We're not any different. Some of us have better advantages than others because we don't have to go out and put ourselves in risky situations by having to drive a public bus, by having to go in and clean a building for someone because I'm still working and I can't say I'm not going to go in unless I'm sick or I'll lose my job. I actually need the job. I need that paycheck to feed my kids. So it's really a humbling thing of we all want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. Next verse. Vigilant the moment a delusion appears in my mind, endangering myself and others, I shall confront and avert it without delay. So if you're noticing an imbalance arising in your mind, we have them all day long. Rather than laying a trip on yourself, okay, observe your mind again. What's happening in my mind? Can you then go in and analyze appropriately? You're feeling angry, okay? Analyze. What can you control in the situation? Your attitude, your mind. You can't control that the kitchen utensil broke. You know, why get angry at that? That's its nature. That's the nature of samsara. Things are broken. You suffer. That's its nature. Okay? If I can accept that more and more, then as soon as the imbalance arises in my mind, apply an antidote. Put yourself next to the clear mountain lake. Take a deep breath. Allow your body to relax. There's many, many antidotes like that. Imagine light coming from the center of your heart of all the loving kindness you can muster, and allow that to spread out into your body and mind. Let that exude from your pores, melting into the universe. Let that come around in your household. Number 4, whenever I see beings who are wicked in nature and overwhelmed by violent negative actions and suffering, I shall hold such rare ones dear as if I'd found a precious treasure. Some people I know are being extremely challenged when they watch certain politicians on the news right now. Very challenged. I've heard people say really rude things about certain people, attacking them verbally, yelling at their computers, yelling at the news source. How does that make you feel when you do that? But again, check your mind. How do I feel after blowing off that kind of steam? Okay? If somebody's challenging you, if one of these politicians happens to be challenging you, that helps you build patience in your mind. You can't develop patience in your mind unless you have adversity. You need to perfect patience in order to become a Buddha. So if everything's easy around you, and it's always about your friends and everybody that likes you, you're not really able to practice patience. It's when this being appears that you get that opportunity. Isn't that precious? Because they're getting you to enlightenment. Different way to frame it. Lojong, mind training. Or a little bit with Lojong, turning the mind on its head. Okay? Turning things upside down. It's really a different way of looking at your reality that can be hugely beneficial. Please try. Number 5, when out of envy, others mistreat me with abuse, insults, or the like, I shall accept defeat and offer the victory to others. This is a big passage, number 5, offering the victory to others. You don't necessarily feel that you're wrong about something, okay? But we can always apologize to diffuse the tension. We might not necessarily be sorry that we did something wrong, but certainly sorry that there's tension right now. Certainly sorry that you're upset with me, that I might have said or did something that upset somebody. Why not give it to them? just to diffuse the tension. See what happens. See what the response is. Number 6, when someone whom I have benefited and in whom I have great hopes gives me terrible harm, I shall regard that person as my holy guru. People lash out. People do things based on their fundamental ignorance. They're confused. Well, so are we. We've made mistakes as well and really mucked it up at times. Okay? When somebody does that, somebody really attacking us verbally, physically, emotionally, sometimes it happens. Okay? What can I learn from this experience? It doesn't mean we're out there to suffer abuse. No, there's a line. We know what the line is. But occasionally somebody freaks out and lashes out in their fear, in their incapacitation. We've all been there. Can I hold them in my heart, hold my heart open? That's what Chinresik is doing. That's what compassion is. And realize, wow, I've been here as well. And maybe they're also giving me valuable input about myself. So check. Check if there's something valuable in there I can learn from. The one thing I at least can learn is patience. So there's different ways to reframe that. Number 7, in short, both directly and indirectly, do I offer every happiness and benefit to all my mothers. I shall secretly take upon myself all their harmful actions and suffering. This is the essence of Tonglen meditation, which we're going to do in another session. Not this session, but another session. Tonglen meditation. So when you're worried about yourself right now in this particular situation, you're worried about yourself. I sometimes like to think about these service workers, we call them essential workers again, that have to go out every day to drive the bus so people can get to work. So people can get to work. Well, who's on the bus? In Philadelphia, usually poor people. A lot of poor people are on the buses right now. Okay, they're having to social distance on the bus. Somebody got thrown off a bus yesterday in Philadelphia because they didn't have a mask on. Several bus drivers have died in Philadelphia because they're driving for us. They're driving to get us to work, like that. So think of the risk that they're taking. So instead of focusing on my fear and my thing, and I can't get to the store and I can't get the kind of nuts that I wanted or the grains that I wanted or the special fruit this particular week, think about them. Could I just take on their situation as I inhale and let it go in and chip away at a knot of your selfishness at your heart center? Let it decrease that, the self-cherishing. It's the only thing that makes us experience pain in our lives, that and our wrong view. Okay, so it doesn't harm you taking on their suffering. Think about all the people right now suffering from the COVID virus all over the world, people on ventilators, people really terrified. Think of their families terrified that they're going to die and they can't see them. It's the most heartbreaking thing for me when I see these families on the latest news thing, separated where the person's dying and they can't be there and they're alone and they're confused. And so again, I'm gonna take that suffering on. I'm not harming myself. I'm gonna harm myself cherishing. I'm gonna reduce and purify myself cherishing. And when I reduce that, I have more spaciousness in my being. And I'm gonna offer to all these beings around the globe all the happiness I have, okay? The fact that I have food, shelter, and clothing right now, and it's easy in that respect. That I have good internet so I can participate in Buddhist classes right now. That I have electricity, right? That I have running water. I'm gonna offer all that to them. Over and over you can do, and even if you just have the thought of that, momentary thought, fantastic. Number 8, undefiled by the stains of the superstitions of the 8 worldly concerns, may I, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, be released from the bondage of attachment. So in a sense, dedicating all the above and considering our view, when am I taking myself too seriously, and when am I, and that is coming from a concrete notion of myself. myself operating as if I'm independent of any causes and conditions or a mental label, independent of my parts, my body and mind. Okay, if I could reorient and understand how we really exist, that we are interdependent, can I not get batted around by these 8 worldly dharmas, 8 worldly concerns, okay, where I gravitate to just experiencing pleasure and I avert from anything painful in unbalanced ways. I gravitate to any gain that I can get. I need food. I want this kind of food. And I avert from any time something's taken away from me, like my basic freedom to go out and play with others, going to the cafe, going to the restaurant, like that, that I gravitate to when I hear nice things about myself and people like me. And I avert from when somebody blames me for something, whether I did it or not. I gravitate to having a good reputation and avert from having anything to do with a bad reputation. How these manipulate us. So if I can orient the right view of myself, that I, that sense of myself that doesn't exist independent of causes and conditions. My parents wanted to have another child. That's a condition of my being here. That it doesn't exist independent of my parts, my body and mind. And it doesn't exist other than being merely labeled by my mind on the body and mind. That's how I come into existence, by depending on all those other things as a dependent arising. I arise in dependence on these other things. The 8 verses, you can continue to go through those at times. Really, really helpful to think about how am I in relation to all of reality? How am I doing in relation to all of reality? Can I adjust that slightly by reflecting on emptiness from time to time? Continuing it on, we're going to recite some mantras now. We're going to do the long mantra that's on the next page one time through. It's very powerful, Rinpoche says, even to one time do this long mantra. Then we're going to do the 6-syllable mantra, which we're more familiar with, Om Mani Padme Hum, and sometimes pronounced Om Mani Padme Hum. Mani, jewel, Padme, lotus, like the all of the universe is like a jewel in the lotus of my heart. May I keep that heart open, in a sense. So I'd just like you to visualize right now, first, before we recite the mantra, that Chenresig in the space in front now comes to the crown of your head. He's standing over top your crown. He's about 6 inches in height, just here, like over top your crown. He's facing the same direction as you. And if you'd like, you could visualize, imagine all living beings on the planet, and there's a little Chenresig on the crown of all of them. And on his tiny heart is a lotus flower opened up. And in the center of that is a moon, a flat moon disk lying flat. Standing at the center of this tiny moon at his heart is his seed syllable, Shri, H-R-I. And this is the essence of his omniscient mind of wisdom and compassion. It's like an object of concentration. It's surrounded, the edge of the moon, by the letters of first his long mantra, like a radiant strand of pearls standing upright, clockwise. And inside of this stands the short 6-syllable mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, in the nature of white light. The more you can visualize everything in the nature of light, the better. And imagine right now that from the mantras and the Shri syllable, white light and nectar begin to emanate, and they represent the nature of his blissful, omniscient mind of compassion. And imagine they pour out and go to the 10 directions and hook back all the blessings and realizations of all the holy beings. They come all the way back into the center of his heart, fully energizing him. And imagine that white light and nectar again begins to pour out from the Shri syllable and the mantra garlands. and fill his entire body right now and begin to flow out of all the pores of his body and all the hands, all the 1,000 hands. And it begins to flow down through the crown of your head and that of all living beings all over the planet. Imagine it permeating your entire nervous system with pure, clear compassion, nectar of compassion, releasing you from any suffering, totally purifying all disturbing attitudes, all negative karmic imprints, diseases, obscurations. Feel completely pure and blissful as much as you can. And imagine the same thing is happening for all the beings around the planet, or any particular one person you'd like to focus on. So we're going to, as much as you can keep this going as we recite the shorter mantra particularly, but we're now going to recite one of the long mantra. And this is the visualization that we're doing. Again, the light rays pouring down through us, purifying all of us, and also going to all the beings on the planet. Om Namo Radna Chayaya Namo Arya Jnana Sagara Berotana Buharadaya Tathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Namo Sarva Tathagatavye Aratabhye Samyak Sambuddhavye Namo Arya Avalokite Shoraya Bodhisattvaya Ma Sattvaya Ma Karunikaya Tayata Om Dara Dara Diri Diri Duru Duru Itivate Taleta Patale Patale Kusume Kusume Vare Ili Mili Ziti Zola Apanaye Soha. We'll start with some chants of the short mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani. So again, continue the short mantra, and again the visualization as best as you can. Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So just think, I will live my life in a meaningful way and do all actions with the motivation to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So imagine Chenresig on your crown now is very pleased with our practice. And along with the lotus and moon on which he stands, along with the 3-syllable and mantra garlands and moon at his heart, all of it dissolves from the edges into the center of the visualization, into a radiant crystal drop of light. And imagine that dissolving into your crown and dissolving into the crown of all sentient beings. And just feel all the blessings of his infinite compassion. Can we go to the next page? We'll go to the dedication in the middle. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Chenrezig, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline but increase forevermore. Due to the positive accumulated merit by myself and others in the past, present and future, may anyone who merely sees, hears, remembers, touches, or talks to me be freed in that very instant from all sufferings and abide in happiness forever. In all rebirths, may I and all sentient beings be born in a good family, have clear wisdom, have great compassion, be free of pride and devoted to our spiritual masters, and live in accordance with our vows and commitments in the spiritual masters. In whatever guise you appear, O Chenrezig, whatever your retinue, your lifespan in Pure Land, whatever your name, most noble and holy, may I and others dwell. So you can remind yourself, if you'd like all day, you could put a Chenrezig there over your crown. So whatever you're doing, call on him to bring out the most compassionate response. You could actually go through your day like that, imagining that he's there. So thank you, Rebecca, for the text. And what I'd like to do before we close, and I will take any questions and answers if you have, I want to just talk about certain coping mechanisms. Some of these we've talked about before, but things, and I'm going to, each week that we have, there are 3 weeks, we're going to go through a few of these different examples of things. Things that you can try this week. Like if you say day 1, I'm going to take 1 day. Today, my activity is no worry. If you're a worrier, how about you want to try no worry? Okay. Here's a way to think about it. Most of you are already doing this. I know that. When we worry, we make problems bigger than what they really are. Okay? We make problems bigger than what they are. Worry is different than concern. Concern has a more balanced, reasonable approach to whatever you're dealing with. Worry is a ruminating, negative mind. Nothing constructive comes from it. So instead of worrying, can you accept whatever you have no control over? Prepare wherever you can. Do your best. Okay, and how about choosing happiness or compassion over worry? So if I notice the worry circling in my mind, and I'm worried about this, and I'm worried about this, like that, what if I just choose to have happy thoughts instead? Replace with happy thoughts. Thinking about if I start to circle around compassion, that kind of necessitates me also to think about relieving others of suffering as well as myself. But maybe the compassion first starts with some self-compassion. That's okay. How can I best take care of myself right now? What kind of gentle response would I like? And what kind of gentle response would I practice if I'm in context with a friend who's worrying? How would I approach them? Why don't I approach myself in the same way? So any comments or questions right now of anything we've been talking about, the practice itself, any other concerns that are arising for you? And I realize you can even raise your hand if you press on chat, I think there's a thing where you can actually raise your hand, but you can also just raise your hand in the video.
So good morning, Venerable Amy. This is Paola from Miami. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Well, great. I'm doing good. Thank you. But
Thanks.
yeah, no, I just wanted to acknowledge that I think what you just said, to worrying versus actually concerning. It's a fine line, but I be, like having quite a lot of struggle kind of dealing with it, because I think that probably it's a state where we've never, I would say, faced such a huge and unbelievable amount of uncertainty in absolutely every aspect of our life. So particularly for myself, like what I feel is that kind of this anxiety around not knowing if I'm going to be able to see my family in Argentina again. Like I feel kind of like trapped here in the country. I cannot travel, they cannot come, they cannot go. So for me, like that kind of feeling of, like I feel like a bird in a cage, at some point with all the other things happening around. But I just wanted to say that kind of just hearing you has brought me kind of a lot of, I would say, more peace, like and the calmness that I needed at least to get through today. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you. And I also want to mention is right now, look at all of us here, the ones who have cameras and we can see the other names, is we're all here together and we're all here with you. And so we're all going through this too. And most probably, although who can know, but most probably we will be able to travel again one day. I mean, it seems likely that will happen.
Yeah.
Viruses have come and gone before. And they basically are working the best they can, and most probably we're going to be able to move around again at some point. We just don't know when. It may take a little longer than we think or that we would like, but it is great that we can be here together. Now, here's another thing I wanted to add, slightly in relation to Paula and some other things, is how many of you are feeling right now that life has slowed down a little bit for you? Just put your hand.
For sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now not everyone's feeling that way, but a lot of people have told me I've got a little bit more space and time, or the time is different the way I'm organizing it. So John's got a thumbs up, great. So what's happening is, if you're noticing that life has slowed down, I say thank God, right? Like it was not working for a lot of us the way it was going before. It wasn't working for the planet. Right now, environmentally, they're saying, wow, we're kind of fixing the planet as far as global warming. It's a shame it had to take this to do it. Now, it's not going to fix it completely, because as soon as this is over, everyone's going to be back in their car and it's going to start again. So right now, though, while we have this precious time, it's pretty precious to have things slowed down. What other kinds of things have you wanted to get to and do? Have you had some books you've wanted to read? Have you had some projects at home that you wanted to get to? Do you need to clean the closet out, or clean the drawer out, or study that thing? You know, I've gotten through a couple of courses that I'm getting certified in that are simple enough that I could do. One of them is our Foundation for Developing Wisdom and Compassion, and I've wanted to do one of their trainings, and it's coming up next weekend. So, you know, I'm going to try to get certified in that, in the level 1 of that, well, because I'm here right now and I can do that. So there's a lot of really valuable things. I know somebody learning Spanish right now because they suddenly are like, well, I might as well just start that. I've got some time. So instead of filling it up with some wasted habits that we just get into, you know, we're just used to doing it, can you take a crowbar, pop yourself out of that, and see if you can look at and get to one of those things and just start one a day. Take one of those little icky projects and start doing something with it, and make that a habit instead. You know, if you're finding you're laying in bed later, get up out of bed and don't be doing whatever computer game you're doing on your phone in bed, and get up, get out, and then later, if you want to return to that, return to it after you had breakfast or something. And just see if you can create a new habit in this time, which a lot would be wonderful if you're able to set up that meditation practice that you've wanted, or that meditation space like that you've wanted. Gina, I'm joking, because she's got a really nice room for a nice meditation space, so I'm teasing her. So, but you know what I mean? It's really possible to do that. Other comments about that? We can do this, right?
Yes.
Other questions, comments?
Venerable Amy?
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everybody in the Sangha. You're so precious to me. You're precious jewels. Thank you for sharing the precious Dharma. Every time I'm challenged, I think of all of you. Love you.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. And thank you, Venerable Amy and Paula, everyone, for sharing, because it's so true, right? We're going through this together. And anytime I think we notice our own suffering, we can also be reminded of the suffering of all others in the world, right? It's such an amazing time. And like you're saying too, for practice, absolutely making more time for Dharma practice and for connecting with others. So thank you all. And thank you, Rebecca, for sharing all this, the screen and the practice, and emailing this stuff to us. It's so helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
And so, Nicole, just in closing, and then we're going to do a quick dedication, but do you want to tell us about some of the upcoming programs for Thubten Kunga Center that Venerable Tendrin is teaching? And
yes, thank you, Venerable Amy. And also, you're teaching today the practices at 1 o'clock with Shanti Davis, right?
So if anyone is interested, at 1 o'clock, about 1, it goes to like 1:30 or 1:40, Shanti Deva Center I'm going to try to post that link. Let me see where it is. Hang on one second. So Nicole, while you're mentioning, I'll post the link to the.
Okay. Yeah, so we have tomorrow morning meditation hour with Jackie Keeley from 10 a.m. to 11. A few minutes about what meditation is, and then we do a 30-minute meditation, and then there's a few minutes for questions and answers if anybody has any questions about that. And then at 11 o'clock, we have Venerable Tendrin leads just coping with these difficult times, some teachings from the Dharma about how we can cope, similar to what we do here, and just reminding us that there are many ways to deal with these times. Then we have our Tuesday evening Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and that's also a little bit of discussion group for Buddhists to talk about how these times we can, there's this urgency to practice. And then also Thursday nights, how to meditate. And then we'll be following again with Venerable Amy next Saturday, this practice. So thank you all so much. Information's on our website homepage. Thank you so much, Venerable Amy.
Thank you to Thubten Kunga Center, Rebecca, Nicole, all the people that have been supporting the center. If you're able to make a donation to the center, please, please do. It's really, really helpful right now. They really do need the help. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining, and whatever merit we've created, and I think we've created a lot of merit doing this, because this is one of the practices, at least reciting the manis is hugely recommended right now for the planet, and may it benefit all of us to quickly get enlightened so we can be of the most benefit to all others. I posted the Shantideva link at 1 o'clock today. So if you want to have a break, we're going to do the practices Rinpoche's recommended, and you'll get a real Dharma blast today of all these courses. And then I also want to dedicate to the long lives of our precious teachers, particularly His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And my website will soon be updated, because I'm doing some, there's a Tara Puja, if you're interested in that. This is Monday night, again, hosted by the New York Center. So you could go on their site and check that. No, I'm sorry. Monday is, Monday afternoon, Vajrapani and Land of Medicine Buddha I'm going to lead a Tara practice for them. It's 1 hour in the afternoon about calming meditation, some Tara stuff and Tara practice, and then there'll be kind of just some practical things. And that's 4:30 to 5:30 on 3 Mondays coming up if you're interested. And then I'm doing some other things, April 16th for the London Center in the afternoon and things like that. So you can see some other stuff that hopefully will be on my website soon. So hope to see you Saturday again, and wishing you all the best. Please be happy. Thank you very much. And anyone want to open their microphones and just say goodbye?
Thank you.
Hi, thank you so
very
much.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Venerable
everybody.
Amy.
All of you.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Please be healthy.
Thank you, Venerable Amy.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.